Good afternoon. This is Megan Sedevy, registered dietitian with Fresh Time Farmers Market, and I'm super excited because today we're talking all about tropical fruits. For those of you who are not familiar with Fresh Time, don't worry. Think of us as the spirit of a weekend's farmers market, except lucky for you, we're open 7 days a week all year round. We really pride ourselves in healthy, organic, natural offerings, all at a great value. So check out FreshTime.com and go to your local Fresh Time today. March is National Nutrition Month, and I love National Nutrition Month. And what better time to start thinking of tropical breezes, sandy beaches, maybe those tiny clothing pieces, than March. For some of us, we're going on a tropical getaway for spring break, and like me, maybe you're staying home. But let Fresh Time be your tropical destination, as we have a variety of great tropical fruits to share with you today and in our stores. So today I'm going to share with you 3 of my favorite tropical fruits. We're going to talk about mangoes, coconut, and pineapple, and we're going to talk about how to pick them out at the store, how to prepare them, which is the really tricky part, but I have simple solutions for that, and what to pair them with. So let's go ahead and get started. If you have any questions or comments, please make sure that you note at the bottom any of them. We'll try to get to them while we're doing the segment today, but if not, we'll make sure we answer your questions later. So we'll start out with mangoes. So mangoes are a great tropical fruit. They're packed with vitamin A and vitamin C that are going to help boost our immune system, also help with great vision health, and vitamin C rich foods actually help us absorb iron better in our body. So again, great fruits. Now, in order to pick out the right kind of mango, there's a couple things you need to look for. When you're picking it out, you want to make sure that it gives a little. So if you see, I can kind of press in and there's tiny little indentations from my fingers. That means it's ready to go. It also should have a great aroma, a slight mango aroma. So you want to smell it. It smells slightly fruity, so I think we're ready to go. Now, in order to cut your mango, you want to make sure that first things first, you always are careful. So we want to make sure that we look at our stem here, and the seed actually is a flat seed. So it goes stem to nose, or the bottom of your fruit, and it lies nice and flat. So what we want to do is we want to take our knife and we want to cut it on either side, okay? So you just nicely cut it like so, and it nicely, cleanly cuts open. Now you want to spin it around. I'm left-handed, so of course I have to spin it around. For you righties, you're good to go. And then you want to just cut the other side of the seed. Nice and gentle. Look at that. So we have 2 perfect sides. And now we're ready to dice them. Now, for those of you who may have actually opened up your mangoes before, you have probably already peeled the skin and they're really slippery and your hands are sliding while you're using the knife. It's not very safe. So this is a very safe way to cut open your mango. From here, you want to make sure that you nicely dice it. Now, you don't want to cut all the way through. You don't want to cut that skin. You just want to nicely cut through to make little slices, and then cut all the way across to nicely dice your mango. If you can hear that little snap, that means that you're cutting it well. And there you go. Ta-da! You have your perfect mango squares. You can go ahead and pull one off and eat it. Super juicy. Absolutely delicious. All right, so we're gonna move to our next tropical fruit, which is a pineapple. Now, pineapple is actually one of the only edible sources of bromelain, which is an enzyme, and it helps you digest your food. It also is really great for muscles. So again, it's a great enzyme that really helps out with the digestion and your muscles. So when you're picking out a pineapple, the first thing you want to do is you want to look at the outside of the pineapple. It should actually have more of a yellowish hue to it. So this one is nicely starting to look yellow. It's not green like sometimes that you see in the store. It also, just like the mango, if you press in a little bit, it should be somewhat soft. Now, if you're pressing in a lot and it's moving a lot, it's probably too ripe, but it should give just slightly. And the last thing that is my favorite and makes you look kind of funny in the grocery store is you need to smell the bottom of your pineapple. So you're looking for a nice, fresh, fruity aroma, and this one definitely fits the bill. All right, so let's go ahead and cut it open. So one thing I actually want to talk about before we cut it open is how to store your pineapple. Now, a friend of mine just went to Hawaii a few weeks ago and went to a pineapple farm. And for those of you who've been to Hawaii, it is the best pineapple you could possibly imagine. So she asked, why is your pineapple so great? And the farmer actually told her that in order to get the freshest, sweetest pineapple, you need to store your pineapples upside down. So you're going to smash in the top of your pineapple just a little bit so that it nicely stands. Let's see if I can do it. Oh, we're almost there. And you want to store it just like that. Because what happens is when you actually have it right side up is that the sugar goes all the way to the bottom. And that's actually the part we're cutting off. This way, since the sugar's at the bottom, you have it nicely drain to the top and it gets all throughout that juicy pineapple. So again, try to store your pineapple upside down. All right, so we get to cutting it. So you always want to make sure that you have a nice flat base to cut on. That's the safest way to cut it. So you want to actually cut the bottom of the base first. And you want to cut maybe a 1/2 inch off of the bottom of the pineapple. Okay, so we have that there. So base is done. Now we want to cut the top off. Again, we like flat surfaces. So we want to just cut the top of the pineapple off. Get through that pineapple. This is a nice thick one. And then remove that one as well. Just gonna add these guys to the bottom here. All right, so then from here you want to have that nice flat surface and put your pineapple right side up. And you want to shave off the outside of the pineapple. So you're just going to nicely cut it. You don't want to cut too much into the flesh because if you do that, then you're missing all that great nutrition. So again, you're just nicely cutting the outside of the rind off little by little. And try not to cut too deep. Again, you want to get as much of that sweet pineapple and those great nutrients as possible. So once we've cut all of our rind away from our pineapple, we want to actually cut open our pineapple. So we're going to cut it in half. And again, flat surface. So cut from the top and cut completely through the pineapple. From here, you want to put both of the sides, again on a flat surface, and cut it in half one more time. So you have 4/4. We'll move this coconut to the side there. We'll get to that in a minute. So here, now we have our 4/4. Now the last thing you want to do is to cut out the core. So the core of the pineapple is right here. It's about 1 inch in, and you want to lay it down on a flat surface, and you just want to nicely cut that core away. See, nice and flat surface, cut that core away. The core is gone. And then you can cut beautiful slices of your pineapple. So tasty. I cannot wait to have lunch later with this wonderful fruit salad. Okay, so next we're going to talk about coconuts. And I'm just going to move some of these pieces of fruit out of the way here so we have a nice clean section. All right, so let's talk about coconut for a minute. So what is coconut? Well, it is a fruit and it's a tree nut. So for those of you who are allergic to tree nuts, this is also in that category. So don't forget about that. Now, coconut water, there's a couple different components to coconuts, and coconut water is great for electrolytes. It's high in potassium, which keeps our fluid in our body nice and level, and it has a great positive effect on blood pressure. Now, the coconut flesh or the meat, which is the inside of the coconut, now this is nutrient dense. It's full of fiber that's going to help aid in digestion, but also one of the great things about coconuts is it has vitamin B6, which actually helps with nerve function in the body. And it's a great source of iron, and that iron actually brings oxygen throughout our body. So it's a very needed vitamin mineral. So when you want to pick out a fresh coconut, a couple things you're gonna look for. You wanna make sure you hear some liquid in it. Can you guys hear that? You hear that swishing? That means there's lots of coconut water in there. It's also going to be kind of heavy in its size. It feels heavier than what it looks like, okay? And there's also 3 eyes in a coconut. You want to make sure that they're nice and clear, there's not any mold, or they haven't been pierced, okay? So before we actually drain our coconut water, I want to talk about one more component of coconut, and that's probably what you've heard the most of: coconut oil. Now, coconut oil tends to be this really amazing thing that everyone's talking about. Is it healthy? Is it not? So I'm going to kind of give you the good and the bad and let you make your own choice. So when it comes to coconut oil, in general, coconuts are a very calorically dense fruit and tree nut. And it does have a lot of vitamins and minerals, but it also has a lot of saturated fat, which traditionally is the bad fat. It increases the bad cholesterol and decreases the good cholesterol. However, studies have shown that half the amount of saturated fat that you'll find in coconuts actually is lauric acid, and it's a medium chain triglyceride, which in shorthand is an MCT. Now, that MCT, studies have shown that it actually increases the good cholesterol, which is awesome, and it's great for brain health. But the one downfall is because it increases good cholesterol, it also increases the bad cholesterol. So what do you take from it? Coconut oil is perfectly fine to have in moderation, but don't let it be the only oil that you use, okay? All right, so let's get that coconut juice out. So like I said before, there's 3 eyes in the coconut, and the best way to get the coconut juice out of the coconut is to pierce the softest eye. Now you're probably thinking, what kind of weaponry am I going to be using to pierce the eyes? Well, I'm actually going to use a screwdriver. And what I did was, this did come from my handy toolkit, but what I did was I made sure I wash it with soap and water so that it's nice and sterile and ready to be used with food. So again, you're going to look at the eyes and you're going to kind of press in to see which one is a little bit softer. And I think it's going to be this one. So with a little bit of elbow grease, you're going to actually take your screwdriver and push all the way in and through. You're going to hear a little bit of a pop. And if you look in closely, the eye has been completely pierced and there's all kind of coconut water in there. So the first thing you want to do is, before we actually open the coconut, is to drain that water. So in any dish, all you want to do is turn it upside down and kind of let it come out. Now, we heard earlier that it had all kinds of juice in there. So we know that we have quite a bit of juice, but we just need to get it to come out. And it takes a little bit, so we'll set it in there nicely and just let it drain, okay? So from there, we need to actually open the coconut. And the safest way to do that is to actually bake your coconut so that it slightly cracks open on its own. A lot of people will use a hammer or a chisel and go at it, and that is not safe, especially when we talked earlier about flat surfaces being the safest way to open things. Well, coconut is very round. So what you want to do is you actually want to take a coconut and you want to put it in the oven on a baking sheet for about 20 to 25 minutes on 400. This will actually kind of start small cracks in the coconut, and that way it's a lot easier to crack open than if you were just to take a hammer and start whacking at it. So what I did was, right before we started Facebook Live, I actually already cooked my coconut. So again, this was about 25 minutes on 400 degrees in the oven, and what you're going to see here is these lovely little small cracks, okay? That's what the oven did for me. I didn't use a hammer or a mallet or anything. I just used the power of heat. So from here, now you're going to take it straight out of the oven and it's still going to be hot. So make sure you get an oven mitt and hold with the oven mitt one side of the coconut. With your other hand, you want to take a mallet. If you don't have a mallet, a hammer will do. And you want to nicely crack the coconut. Now you'll notice at the top here, I'm having a large crack and it's starting to separate, and I have just enough space to actually open the coconut myself. So I'm going to pull with all of my strength the top part of the coconut off. And now you have this juicy coconut that is ready to be used. So a couple things that you can do with coconut. If you're thinking, okay, great, So I just opened a coconut, but what do I do with it? Well, I have some good solutions for you. So a couple things you can do, and again, because it's still kind of soft, you can actually pull the coconut away from the shell. Whoop. And then you see it's a nice tender meat. You can actually use this and use a peeler and peel it and then throw it back on that baking sheet, bake for maybe 5 to 7 minutes, and you have toasted coconut pieces. It's great for yogurt parfaits, maybe adding to a salad. So it's a great way to add some crunchy coconut to your meals. Now, if you're not as adventurous as cracking open your own coconut, that's okay. There's a lot of different coconut things that you can do. Coconut milk is a great way to incorporate into some savory dishes to give it a nice, rich, sweeter flavor. What I really like to do with coconut is I actually use the shaved coconut and I put it into one of my granola mixes, and I put that in cereal, I put that in my overnight oats. So those are some really great ways to add coconut into your meals. If you're looking for something on the sweeter side, there's a delicious coconut whip that you can get at Fresh Thyme in our freezer section, and it's great to dip other fruits in. So again, there's many ways that you can use coconut. Now I want to go a little bit back to better ways to use pineapple as well as to use mangoes. So some non-traditional ways to use pineapple: you can make a Hawaiian pizza, you can add it in your stir fry. One of my favorite things, especially in the summer, it's gonna get here, is to grill pineapple, and then I top it with a little bit of ice cream and a little bit of balsamic glaze or even just some honey. So it's a really fun, unique way to use dessert. For mango can be incorporated into just about anything. One of the things I really like to incorporate them in is like a salsa or a guacamole. Fresh Thyme actually has this great peach mango salsa that my husband and I absolutely love. So that's a good way to do it. You can also add mangoes to tacos. That's a good way, or I'll add them to any of my favorite breakfast dishes, like a yogurt or an oatmeal. Again, a great way to get that in. Now, if you're thinking about beverages, those tropical beverages, a really good way to do that is actually to use pineapple or mango in an infused water. This is already made for you, but it's pineapple and mint. You can get these at the produce cooler at Fresh Thyme, but it's a great way to add more flavors and a little bit of nutrients to your water. So again, a healthier spin on some of those great tropical drinks. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed learning about my favorite tropical fruits and how to pick them, pair them, and prep them, the most important part. If you have any questions, again, leave them at the bottom of the page. I'll be happy to answer them after the cast. And have a great weekend. Bye.